Footprinting countermeasures. So what can we do about footprinting? We can restrict the employees to access to social networking sites from the organization's network. So then they'll just go and do it at home, or they'll step out of the office and use their phone. You can't really stop this. So that's not valid anymore, but just for the test, know that that's one of the answers. You can configure the web servers to avoid information leakage. Yes, you can, and that's a good one. Educate employees to use pseudonyms on blogs, groups, and forums. Yes, you can do that. Do not reveal critical information in press releases, annual reports, product catalogs, etc. So when you're producing this documentation, anything that 10 or more people are going to read, you should consider public. So just think of it like that. If you're going to put something out there to 10 or more people, you just might as well consider it public information. Limit the amount of information that you are publishing on the website, internet. So you want to limit the information you're putting out there. Only put what you have to. Make it vague. No specifics. Use footprinting techniques to discover and remove any sensitive information that is publicly available. So go and do a test yourself and find out what you've already leaked or what you may be leaking inadvertently. You want to prevent search engines from caching a web page and using anonymous registrations services. This is true. More countermeasures. Enforce security policies to regulate the information that the employees can reveal to third parties. Set apart internal and external DNS, or use split DNS to restrict zone transfers to authorized servers. So don't put your public network information out, your private network information out on your public DNS. Don't put that, we have a camera at 10.0.4.5. You might have camera.yourdomain.com, and then that IP could be tied to that, and that's a bad thing because now I know, one, that you have a camera, and two, that you're using 10 dot whatever networking IP addresses. That's a lot less work I have to do once I gain access to your network. Disable directory listings in the web servers. Educate employees about various social engineering tips and tricks and risks. So education is a big one, and they need to be reminded because you can't do it once a year, they'll forget. So don't put a whole bunch of money in one training. It's better to spread it out and just do constant reminders. Hey, don't forget about phishing. Hey, don't forget about phishing. Opt for privacy services on Whois lookup databases. Avoid domain cross-linking for critical assets. And then encrypt and password protect sensitive information. So footprinting penetration testing. Footprint penetration testing is used to determine an organization's publicly available information. The tester attempts to gather as much information as possible about the target org from the internet or other publicly available sources or accessible sources, prevent information leakage, prevent social engineering attempts, prevent DNS record retrieval from publicly available servers, so prevent zone transfers. And then footprinting pen testing helps organizations to do all of the following. So don't take this stuff lightly, it is a very big deal. So you want to get the proper authorization, you want to define the scope of the assessment. So we're talking about a pen test footprint here. Define the scope of the assessment, perform footprinting through search engines, and perform Google hacking. So scope is a big deal on a pen test. It always tends to creep. And then use search engines such as, Google, Yahoo, Search, Bing, whatever you want to use, Dogpile. Use tools such as GHDB, MetaGooFill, and SiteDigger, etc. These tools, you need to be familiar with the names of them and what they do, not necessarily the tools unless I specifically mention them. Get proper authorization. Well, that's for the test, not for real life. For real life, you want to be familiar with everything you can. But you want to get proper authorization and define the scope of the assessment. That's a big one. Big, big, big. Footprint the search engines such as blah, blah, blah. You can use whatever search engines you want. We've already talked about that 3 or 4 times now. Perform Google hacking using tools such as GHDB. Google Hacking Database is what that is. And then MetaGooFill, SiteDigger, etc. Then we want to go in and gather target information or target organization employees information from their personal profiles, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Google, Pinterest. If you're a security engineer at a company and you have, hey, I work with Cisco all the time and you're going to work for company X and you're in security, you probably don't want to list that you work at that company. It's probably just prudent to say, hey, I'm a security engineer, I'm a senior security engineer, I'm a principal security engineer, I'm a new security engineer, I'm an intern, and list what you're doing and what you're working on, but there's no reason to list a company. There's no reason for that until you give them your resume and then know whom you're giving your resume to. So you want to perform website footprinting using tools such as, one more thing I want to say about that is you should encrypt your resumes so that you can revoke the keys that they're used with down the road, right? So that stuff's not out there forever. HTTP track, website, copier, Black Widow, Web Ripper, we talked about that, cloning websites, right? And then perform email footprinting and using tools such as Email Tracker Pro, Polite Mail, some of the email tools we looked up we looked at, and then gather competitive information using tools such as Hoover, LexisNexis, Business Wire, etc. I don't know that that's too valuable unless you're going to be attacked. So unless you're doing a real attack, it's probably not that valuable for a pen test, but you may want to just let them know about it. Most of the time you'll find so much stuff that this won't make it in, so don't leave this off of future pen tests. So always revisit, have a hard list, revisit the list. And again, scope is going to be a big thing. You only have time. You only have so much time. You got to figure out what you can fit in that time frame. And then you want to document the findings. Let's see, we are still in performing the WHOIS footprinting, perform the DNS footprinting, perform the network footprinting, and the social engineering. So we talked about all of this several times. And then reporting templates. So these are big, right? So reporting templates are big. So you need to have a template. So you go through and when you're typing everything up, you're going, oh yeah, I forgot to do this. And you can go do that. Or hey, I wonder if there's anything interesting in here. Or no, that doesn't apply to this one. So templates are good because you can just kind of throw out what you want and they'll help remind you of what you need to put in there. And I highly recommend that as you're going through the pen test, you start filling out the report. That way you don't miss anything. It's very easy to do when you get caught up in the details of something. You can deep dive into something for a week and just brain dump everything else that you're trying to do for this report, right? So templates are important. More information about the templates, you can read about that. Footprinting is a process of collecting. So in summary, footprinting is a process of collecting as much information as possible about a target network for identifying various ways to intrude into an organization's network system. It reduces an attacker's focus to specific range of IP addresses, network domain names, remote access, etc. And then attackers use search engines to extract information about a target. Absolutely. Attackers use social engineering tricks to gather sensitive information from social networking websites such as Facebook, MySpace, LinkedIn, Twitter, Pinterest, Google, etc., etc. Absolutely true. Information obtained from target's website enables attackers to build a detailed map of website structure and architecture. True. And then competitive intelligence is the process by identifying, gathering, analyzing, verifying, and using information about your competitors from resources such as the internet. DNS records provide important information about location and types of servers. Attackers conduct traceroute to extract information about network topology, trusted routers, and firewall locations.